recently the state of global climate report was released. State of global climate report. This report has been recently released and this is what we are going to discuss today. Now, state of global climate report, of course, will be talking about the state in which the global climate is presently, right? The very first thing you need to know when any report or index comes out is which organization has brought it out. So it's the World Meteorological Organization. World Meteorological Organization, also known as the WMO. Now, this organization is a part of United Nations. In fact, it is a specialized agency of United Nations. So this is very important to know that this report has been brought out by WMO, which is a specialized agency of United Nations. There will be a lot of organizations part of United Nations, but only some of them are specialized agency, and WMO is one such specialized agency. It was of course established in 1950 on in fact 23rd March, and since it was established in 23rd March is also celebrated as World Meteorological Day. These are important facts for prelims. Before we jump into the report, you should be knowing this. World Meteorological Day. Why is it celebrated on this day? On 23rd March, to commemorate the formation of WMO. Now, WMO has around 193 members. So, almost approaching universal membership. 193 member nation and states are there for this specialized agency. Now, this agency, this organization has brought out the State of Global Climate Report. So we will now look at what this state of climate report's findings are. So before we go into that detail, one thing also we should remember is the entire world wants to address the issue of climate change. Now, I'm saying entire world, but of course at times you may come across certain countries which are not doing what is required, which are not doing with respect to what has been internationally agreed. Previously, USA under the previous president had tried to walk out of the international climate change agreement. So all these things will keep happening, but generally we can say that everyone wants to ensure that climate change does not impact them much, right? And the entire world also, because if it impacts any part of the world, it is going to impact the other part of the world. Climate change is happening throughout the world. Of course, it can hamper some countries more than others. For example, small island nations. When the sea water level rises, small island nations may face a lot of difficulties. Least developing countries, because they have less resources to cope, less technological advancement to cope. So there may be different kinds of different degrees of implications, but yes, it's going to be affecting everyone. So when it came to climate change agreement, the entire world came to a consensus that, now this is very important to know, so that the finding of this report will make more sense and will be more scary in fact. However, let's understand that when it came to climate change, the target of the world was to ensure that the temperature rise is within 2 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial level. So we want to ensure that the temperature rise is within 2 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial level. This is the bare minimum we have to do. And if possible, we also decided that we should strive towards ensuring that instead of just within 2 degrees Celsius, we are within 1.5 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial level. So this is what we were supposed to ensure. 2 degrees Celsius, within 2 degrees Celsius increase, and even better strive to have the rise within 1.5 degrees Celsius increase. This is the entire world's target, which entire world is trying to achieve. Alright, now let us look at what are the findings of the State of Global Climate Report. So the State of Global Climate Report has mentioned that 2023 is the hottest year ever on record. Hottest year ever on record. What do we mean by on record? Since the records have been kept since then, this is the hottest year. It can so happen, and since when the records are being kept? The records are being kept since 1850. So it's the hottest year ever in the last 174 years. In the last 174 years. Okay. Since 1850s the records are being kept, since then it is the hottest year. Previously there is a possibility there might be other years which were hotter than this, but we don't have the record. So since the records are being kept, 2023 is the hottest year is what the report says. Now it just doesn't end here. Let us understand what is happening. There has been the rise in temperature which is happening. Now in the year of 2023, the average rise of temperature, remember we are trying to keep it within 2 degrees Celsius or even better within 1.5 degrees Celsius, right? But in 2023, the average rise in temperature has been 1.45 degrees Celsius. 1.45 degrees Celsius, it is approaching this number. So this target may vanish. We will not be able to achieve this in a few years because the average temperature in 2023 reached 1.45 degree Celsius. Now of course there can be error, so they actually write it as plus minus 0.12 degrees Celsius. What do we mean by plus minus 0.12 degrees Celsius? It can be even, it can be lesser, but it can be even more, meaning it can be 1.33 degrees Celsius to 1.57 degrees Celsius. So this is the amount of error they may have while calculating this to be the average rise in temperature. Okay, so it is safe to, so it can be 1.33 also, which is far away, but it can be 1.57 also, which will breach this 1.5 degrees Celsius mark. But an average is taken, the average rise that has been indicated is 1.45 degrees Celsius with this much of deviation possible. Okay, so that is a scary number. So I have said one thing was that 2023 is the hottest ever year on record. At the same time, the 2014 to 2023 decade has been called the hottest decade. The hottest decade on record. So anything that can go worse, any records that could be set in a negative tone has all been set over here. The hottest year, the hottest decade, that is 2014 to 2023. At the same time, when you talk about the year 2023, the respective months of 2023, right? The respective months from June to December, they have been the hottest respective months. What do I mean by that? By that I mean June 2023 is the hottest hottest June month ever. In the same manner, if I say July 2023, if I say August 2023, September 2023, October 2023, okay. Or if I say November 2023, if I say December 2023, they have been the respective hottest month. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of these months in the year 2023 have been the hottest respective months ever. Alright, so hottest year, hottest decade, 7 of the months being the hottest month as well. What else? There have been extremities of weather. Extreme weather condition. And this extremity has been seen in all the possible weather situations. For example, you have seen extremities in heat waves, in droughts, right? Heat waves, droughts, even tropical cyclones. There have been extremities of this. The tropical cyclones are getting intensified. Now what will happen because of increased intensity? Increased here also, increased intensity, and not just intensity, plus increased frequency as well. Increased intensity here also, increased intensity plus increased frequency as well. Tropical cyclones also getting intensified. Because of this, what will happen? It will cause more damages to the people, of course, take away lives of the people, at the same time damages to the economy, to the world, to the structure, to the infrastructure, as a result of which damage to people and economy. And since it will damage economy, it will again lead to further damage of the people. Here people may die, people may not have food, livelihood, etc. Also economy is damaging, so that will further increase the consequences, the negative consequences of these extreme weather conditions. What else does the report say? The report also talks about the ocean temperature and the heat waves in ocean specifically. So heat waves in ocean. What has been the situation with respect to heat waves in the ocean? It is said that on an average 1/3 of the ocean suffered from heat waves at any given point. These are important sentences, directly can be framed in your prelims question. On an average, 1/3 of the ocean suffered from heat waves at any given point of time. What do we mean by that? We mean by that if, let's say, on 1st September, if you will check what percentage of the entire ocean of the world is under heat wave, it would be 1/3 or more. If you check, let's say, on 1st of December, what portion of ocean is under heat wave, it will be again 1/3 or more. The area where the heat waves are may be different. Let's say here the heat waves were happening in more in the northern hemisphere. Here the heat waves are happening more in the southern hemisphere. So the areas may change, but the cumulative total area throughout the year on an average was 1/3 of the total area or more. That is what this sentence means. On an average, 1/3 of the ocean suffered from heat waves at any given point of time. About heat waves, it further says that 90% of the ocean suffered from heat waves at some point of the year. 90% of the ocean suffered from heat waves at some point of the year. Okay, that means there was only 10% of ocean that did not have heat waves. Only 10% of the ocean did not have heat waves. Rest, the remaining 90% of the ocean suffered from heat waves. Now, ocean we have seen. Then this report moves on and talks about the glacier retreat. Glacier retreat, as in glaciers are huge structures of ice. They are melting. They are melting, meaning the glaciers are retreating. So 2020-23 saw highest amount of ice melting, that is highest amount of glacier retreat, and this was more prominent in North America plus Europe. It was more prominent here, and it was the highest amount of ice melting or glacier retreat ever. Clear? At the same time, there will be certain consequences. So the consequences of food insecurity. Now food insecurity has been drastically increasing. To give you a ballpark figure over here, the report says during pre-COVID as in 2019, COVID started coming in 2019 in India, we started having lockdowns in early 2020. So pre-COVID, that is in 2019, just prior to COVID, when COVID break up. So the numbers were, there were around 149 million people who were food insecure. So food insecurity was there for 149 million people. Now, any guess what this number would be now? This number now has more than doubled. So now this number is 333 million people who are now food insecure. Right? So these are the findings of the State of Global Climate Report presented by WMO. One thing we can also see how drastic the things are increasing. The drastic in nature of increase can be seen from this. Earlier, just 149 million people were food insecure. Just in 4 or 5 years, it has more than doubled. Right? At the same time, in the very beginning, we saw that the average rise in temperature in 2023 was 1.45 degrees Celsius. The previous hottest year was 2016, and it was way lesser than this. So I'll give you the exact number. The exact number for this was 1.29 degrees Celsius plus minus 0.12. 1.29 degrees Celsius plus minus 12. So this was the number. Now there has been an increase. It has the difference between this and this is what? 1.45 minus 1.29. 0.16 degrees Celsius. Right? So 2016 was the hottest year. After that 2020 was also there, but then 2020 was 1.27 degrees Celsius. Why people also call 2020 as the hottest year? Because 2020 was 1.27 degrees Celsius plus minus 0.12. So if plus minus 0.12, here you add 0.12 and here maybe it would be less than this, this may become the hottest year. But generally whatever the average comes out, we forget the deviation, deviation can be there anywhere, we generally take this number given by the report. So this number given by the report in 2020 was 1.27 degrees Celsius, so it has slightly gone down. That is why still 2016 would remain the hottest year prior to 2023. In 2023, it changed. So we are now at 1.45 degrees Celsius increase in average temperature as compared to the pre-industrial temperature. So what is the pre-industrial year? So when we say pre-industrial, we are talking about 1850. Why are we talking about 1850? Industrialization came way before. Right, industrialization came way before. It started coming in the 1750s, 60s, and still we are taking this year. Why? Because at this moment of time, industrialization had spread and it was at its zenith. Of course, now there is more industrialization, more technological advancement, but the industrialization that came in the agricultural sector initially and then the industry started developing would have, at that time it spread, came from England, spread in other European Western worlds as well. Hence this 1850 is taken as that year. We could not take 1757 or let's say 1700s because the temperatures would then further be so low that we might have already exceeded it. That is why we take it this. From this level, we should not increase. There should not be an average increase of 2 degrees Celsius or more, and if it is possible, we need to keep it below 1.5 degrees Celsius. But as you can see, it will be very difficult because already we have reached 1.45 degrees Celsius. However, you can see in 2019 it was 1.29 and then it reduced slightly. So we can do that. It is still possible provided we all work, the entire world works together, and of course on which principle? On CBDR principle. What is this CBDR principle? Common, which India, proposes or wants, that is common but differentiated responsibilities. Meaning the responsibilities are common of the entire world to ensure that there is not much increase, but the responsibilities need to be differentiated. Why? Because some countries are least developed, some are developing, some have already developed, some have polluted more, some has contributed more to the increase in the temperature and have reaped benefits, technological and economical benefits out of it. So for them, there needs to be more commitment, more efforts from least developing countries, least developed countries, developing countries who have not polluted much, who are socio-economically backward. It should be lesser. So that is what is common but differentiated responsibilities in order to address the climate change.